أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد من الله على المؤمنين إذ بعث فيهم رسولا من أنفسهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين. صدق الله العظيم. Last week we also recited this ayah and went over the first part until Rasulam yatlu alayhim ayatihi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The sending Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was in itself a great ni'mah, a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we would say, the wadifa of the Nabi, the job of the Nabi has been highlighted over here. And the very first one, the first of these three is yatlu alayhim ayatihi, and we discussed some points regarding tilawah of the Quran al-Kareem, the importance of that. A second tafsir of yatlu alayhim ayati itself is that yatlu alayhim ayati can also mean that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would give da'wah through the Quran al-Kareem. The verb tala yatlu, to recite, when it comes with ala, so yatlu ala, to recite upon, meaning, but it means da'wah, calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Quran al-Kareem. So this is extremely important. Obviously, first a person has to learn the Quran al-Kareem, reciting the meaning, etc. And that's the most effective manner of calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it be Muslims, non-Muslims, whatever it is, and through the power of the Quran al-Kareem. يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ. The second is وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ comes from tazkiyah. Tazkiyah means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to cleanse the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, to cleanse the Muslimun, to cleanse the believers, those that accept. Tazkiyah means a cleansing. That's why we say zakah. Zakah, the person gives alms. Why is zakah called zakah? Because it's a cleansing of the wealth. By giving sadaqah, by giving the charity in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this cleanses a person's wealth. So over here, وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, so the first job is يَتْلُو عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتِهِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, would call the people of Mecca, the Sahaba who accepted, he would call them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the ayat of the Quran al-Kareem, the dalail, the proofs called therein. And when they accept it, this is a type of tazkiyah of themselves. Yani cleansing themselves, ridding themselves of the kufr, the shirk, ma'asi, disobedience. All of that is cleansed through accepting iman and the teachings of the Quran al-Kareem. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ, that's how tazkiyah happens. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابُ الْحِكْمَةِ, and the Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would teach the Quran al-Kareem. يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابُ الْحِكْمَةِ. Over here, Mufassirun also draw a point that these are two separate issues which the Quran al-Kareem has highlighted. Now one is tazkiyah, yuzakkihim, and the other is ta'lim. So what does that tell you? That it's not necessary that just because a person knows something, that means that they are muzakkah, that means they will necessarily practice it. Yani what percentage of the ummah, for example, knows that backbiting is wrong? The major portion of the ummah, we would say, would know that something such as backbiting is haram, it's impermissible. Now what percentage of the ummah stays away from it? What percentage of the ummah knows cheating and lying is haram, that's impermissible? Or what percentage of the ummah stays away from it? Like that, each thing a person can take, whether it's the do's or the don'ts. So one is the ilm that the people have, that we have as people, as believers, and the other is how much of that we implement and practice and stay away from. So that's why ulama mention here that even in the Quran al-Kareem, these have been highlighted as two different things. That a person actively needs to do their tazkiyah. A person actively needs to be aware of reforming themselves. That just because I know something doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to put into practice. Just because you know something is wrong doesn't necessarily mean a person stays away from it. So that's why tazkiyah of a person's self, reformation of oneself, that in itself is an active effort. That person, and it's a separate effort, separate from ta'lim, separate from learning, separate from attaining knowledge, both which are important. Ta'lim is obviously, if you don't know what to stay with, what are you going to stay with? So obviously ta'lim is necessary, but a person needs to put concentrated effort. Now how does tazkiyah and how is reformation? Well, one is that we sit in gatherings in which we speak about these things. For example, the gatherings of Tafsir, whether it be the different bayanat and speeches that we sit in, the different lectures. But all of that will only be helpful if we sit with that intention that I want my tazkiyah and reformation to be done. That person sits in a speech, sits in a bayan with this intention. Not the person saying that, okay, let's see what this alim has, what stories this alim has for us today, or what new things can I just kind of add to my list of information. One is a person sits for ta'lim and for ilm and attain knowledge. That in itself is also good. But separate from that is a person should sometimes just sit and say that how much of what is going to be spoken about am I going to implement into my life. So now, even if it may be things that we have heard 100 times, we have been hearing for the last 30 years, 40 years, but the benefit of that is what? That I'm reminding myself, and today I will sit with the intention that how much of this will I implement. Another is that a person stays with good people, stays with salaha, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that ittaqullah, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Immediately after that, the Quran says, وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. So over here, Mufassirun will say that how do you attain the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Be with the righteous people, be with the people of sidq, of those people of truth, who bring what they say into their lives. So suhbah, right, staying in good company, that is also a way of reformation. Right? So again, the point being that tazkiyah of a person's self, reformation, and ta'lim are two separate, important works that the Nabi did, and that we as individuals have to bring into our lives. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach al-kitab, to teach the Quran Kareem, wal-hikmah, hikmah referring to the ahadith, the sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now again, here there are multiple points. The يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابِ, what does that tell us? That the Quran Kareem was revealed in Arabic, and the people who Rasul ﷺ was addressing they weren't Americans, right? They didn't know English, they weren't speaking English. What language were they speaking? They were speaking Arabic. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being sent, why? لِتَعْلِيمِ الْكِتَابِ, to teach them the Quran Kareem. They know the language, yet they need a Rasul. Meaning the Quran Kareem cannot be separated from the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Quran Kareem cannot be separated from the irshad, the hidayah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the guidance, the ta'lim of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the teaching of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's not a matter. Now that's for people who knew the language, the eloquence of the language. That when Kuffar of Makkah, Quraysh of Makkah, when they would hear the Quran Kareem, they were awestruck. That the Quran Kareem's Arabic is so rich. So they understood it. You and I, even as believers, don't understand the Quran to that level. Because we don't know that language to that level. Now imagine a person who wants to learn the Quran Kareem when he doesn't even know the language. And he wants to interpret the Quran himself. Through what? Through holding someone else's translation. Right? Yani people who knew Arabic, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that for them also the Rasul is being sent for ta'lim, for teaching them the Quran. So all the more reason, someone who does not know the language, they need someone to teach them even more. So يُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابُ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the mu'minun from Medina came, the Ansar of mu'minun, before Hijrah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in Bay'atul Aqaba, when the Ansar, they weren't Ansar at that time, they became Ansar after the Sahaba went there. So when they accepted Islam and they came and they pledged and gave Bay'ah to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and invited Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam that in the future you can make Hijrah to Medina Munawwara, and that happened twice. So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu. Although he taught them the Quran Kareem, but Mus'ab ibn Umayr radiallahu anhu was sent to them. The people of Medina also knew Arabic. But Mus'ab bin Umayr radiallahu anhu was sent as what? Al-Mu'allim. And he became known as Al-Mu'allim amongst the Ansar in Medina Munawwara. So why? يعني Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, he learned from Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He was what we would we would say an alim, sorry, something of that, what we would call. And so that's why he was sent to teach them, and he continued teaching them. So again, yani even at the time of, or let's take the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu, that when he wrote the different manuscripts in the Rasm Uthmani, in the Usmani script, with each mushaf, with each sahifa that he would send to different parts of the Islamic world, with each of them he would send who? A muallim, right? And so that the Quran, the Kareem as a kitab, would never be separated from people who would be teaching it. It was never something which is independent, that a person independently learns it. This has been the practice of Muslimun throughout the generation of Islam. So anytime a person separates himself, or anytime a person separates from the Quran Kareem, from the people of the Quran Kareem, those that have learned the Quran Kareem, then they fall into deviance and they lead themselves only towards destruction. وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمْ الْكِتَابِ. So the teaching of the Quran Kareem, وَالْحِكْمَةِ. Hikmah, many times we may hear it being, or we understand it to be translated as wisdom. So the hadith of Rasulullah, why is it termed as hikmah? Because hikmah means a person who has hikmah, wisdom. The difference between a person who has hikmah and the person that does not have hikmah is that a person who does not have hikmah, if you put him into a good situation, he'll make that situation bad as well. And a person who has a hikmah, you put him into a terrible situation, yet he'll find a way out and he'll give you the best solution. There is no better solution and there is no better ta'aleem and guidance than that of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent in an era of darkness, which was known as a time of Jahiliyyah. The era itself was called Jahiliyyah, a time of ignorance. That there was problems at a social level, a political level. Every level, people were being persecuted. There was troubles in every facet of life and of society. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a short span of 23 years, turned the entire face of Jaziratul Arab. This is hikmah. That what Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought to the people, and the teachings of the Quran Kareem, the teaching of the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he was put into an age of darkness, and rather than just complaining and say, oh, I have been put into a time of darkness and I can't do anything, rather the ta'aleem of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam changed the entire face of Arabia. Hence it's called hikmah. وَإِن كَانُوا مِن قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. And before the teachings, before the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people were in وَإِن كَانُوا مِن قَبْلُ, before that you were in ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ, in clear misguidance. That you needed this guidance, this nur, to bring you towards the straight path. Make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq to practice upon the Sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam.